AI is the new change accelerator. It's just like Brexit, financial crises, and COVID. Change accelerators expose organizations and leaders to complexity, problems, and crises. COVID demonstrated how unprepared we were to lead and manage disruption. And AI is now multiplying change at even a greater speed. And the same leadership capability gaps still exist. Hopefully, you'll learn why external shocks are unavoidable, but internal capability decides who fails and who thrives. I've been a professor practice specialized in leading in the fourth industrial revolution since 2015. And back then, I was talking about three leadership capabilities: understanding complexity, leading through change, and solving problems. No one really understood what those meant. And then COVID happened. During COVID, I had a tsunami of calls and messages saying, "What do we do next? How do we get through this?" In the UK alone, SMEs, 99% of businesses suffered an estimated £126 billion hit, and 80% of small business owners reported negative mental health effects. Sales globally plunged 29% average, and that was in Q2 2020. By mid-March 2020, 81% of firms identified COVID as a top three source of uncertainty. You see, COVID was a change accelerator, just like currency fluctuations, inflation, deflation, political crises, black swan events, and cross-border wars. Change accelerators have the same characteristics of problems caused by change, only intensified and acute. Change accelerators are not your problem, because a problem is defined as a process or outcome you can control. Can you control currency fluctuations, a political crisis, inflation, or COVID? Of course you can't. But they accelerate the impact on business, people, systems, and structures. That's what you can control. Our world isn't that stable anymore. The OECD shows that external shocks, from pandemics to geopolitical wars, wreak havoc on supply chains, regulatory regimes, and trade flows. Academic work confirms that currency swings, import cost shocks, and trade policy uncertainty can destabilize firms not equipped from the inside. So that was the first wave. And after that experience, some began to understand the value of premium leadership soft skills in these volatile environments like change, communication, performance, and that they had a major capability gap because business schools and executive programs do not teach skills like implementation and problem solving and collaboration. But these are the same gaps that leaders are feeling every single day now. 91% of L&D pros say human skills are increasingly important. Only 15%, though, of employees say their manager helped them build a career plan in the last 6 months. 75% of HR leaders say managers are overwhelmed, and 70% say current programs do not prepare their leaders and managers. Now for the second wave, when AI emerges. First as an application, then integrating into industries. AI is a change accelerator. Change accelerators, as we've said before, have the same characteristics of problems caused by change, only intensified and acute. Can you control AI? Of course you can't. But this change accelerator is impacting your systems at an unprecedented rate. It's a change accelerator like no one has ever seen before. When electricity was invented, it took decades, maybe even some cases a century, to feel its impact. AI is capable of producing change globally in less than 48 hours. And look where we are with the same soft skills that we've had in COVID and pre COVID. And it's what I call the perfect storm in leadership and management capability. And it's just beginning. So today, hopefully, some of you will be listening because I'm going to tell you how to lead and manage this with a set of principles. They are just five, but we're only going to cover one because it's really important. It's happening right now at this moment inside your organization. It happened last week and it happened last year. It's going to happen next week and in the coming weeks. You need to get your head around it to build leadership and management capability or soft skills to control it. Because as Professor John Cotter explains, some change initiatives, or whatever you want to call them, fail. Some succeed, but most veer towards the failure end. It's the quote 70-30 rule. Because when you are faced with problems, you only have two choices. The first, you can either look externally to consultants and business schools, or second, you can build that internal capability focused on the specific problem and solve it. Talent inside your organization needs to know the principles of business change in order to lead people and business through this perfect storm of AI. Firms that build internal career development, leadership pathways, coaching, internal mobility, see higher learning engagement and promotion rates, and are better positioned to retain scarce skills. So, principles are not just suggestions or best practices, they are fundamental truths that operate with the consistency and reliability of natural laws, just like gravity exists. Like a technical or mechanical engineer who complies with the principles of gravity to design a space rocket, so too must your leaders and managers be equipped with principles and frameworks to deal with AI. And these are the five principles. Principle one, master the change loop. Principle two, lead the company lifecycle. Principle three, differentiate problems and opportunities. Principle four, facilitate the four essential roles. Principle five, make and take the right decisions. I'm just going to briefly introduce you to one principle today that you know very well. As a matter of fact, you're experiencing it at this moment, and you've experienced it last year, last month, last week, and you'll experience it tomorrow and in the future. It's principle one, master the change loop. And this is how it works. You lead and manage a business by implementing a strategy. That strategy is subject to change, and change creates problems you solve and opportunities you must deliver. It would be great if you could just implement a strategy and walk away, preferably go on a holiday, but you can't, because to solve the problems and deliver the opportunities, you need to implement another strategy. But that strategy is subject to change, creating more problems to solve and more opportunities to deliver. And how do you do that? Well, it's simple. You implement another strategy. This cycle repeats continuously throughout the life of your business in every aspect of operations, people, finance, as you progress through each stage of your company's life cycle. And your business is subject to this law of gravity regardless of size, sector, or stage. Now, if you can't effectively control the change loop, several cascading negative effects occur. The first is typical problems transform into abnormal problems, and opportunities become problems. Your business experiences disintegration and premature aging. The change loop can manifest in one or two ways. First, as a vicious loop where you lack capability to control it and fall further behind with each cycle, or a virtuous loop where you develop the capacity to master it and gain a competitive advantage with each cycle. To illustrate the impact of this reality, let me share the example of one of my clients, a fast growing mid sized business, approximately 14 years old. When we began working together, we identified the problems in the change loop. There were 75 problems, 32 root causes, 58 symptoms, 17 core symptoms, 10 consequences, and 5 manifestations. This accumulation of issues is typical for any business that lacks a structure and process to scale. Accumulated abnormal problems that lead to an inability to deliver on opportunities. And remember the backdrop to this: 75% of HR leaders report managers are overwhelmed, and 70% say current programs do not prepare them for what's next. That's why issues accumulate. AI accelerates the change loop and multiplies problems by 2 to 4 times. So here is your takeaway to winning the continuous change loop, and it's in the form of a short story. Two people are on safari in Africa. They turn the corner to see a very hungry lion who hasn't eaten in months, and this lion sees its meal and it's ready to hunt. One person slowly kneels down to take running shoes out of their backpack, and the other person says to them, "What are you doing? You can't outrun the lion." And the other person responds, "I don't need to outrun the lion. The only person I need to outrun is you." The only way to win the continuous change loop game is by outrunning your competition to, firstly, proactively identify and address problems and opportunities, and secondly, manage and lead by creating change faster than your competition.